Welcome to OtakusandGeeks.com reviews. Justin here, and today I'll be reviewing the anime series Frieren. Before we talk about the stories and the characters, let's give you a brief synopsis of the show. Set in a slightly futuristic world where Earth has been invaded and is at war with aliens from another dimension called the Nova, the story follows the adventures of a Japanese boy, Kazuha, who enrolls for training at a special school for genetically modified girls called Pandoras, who battle the aliens and their male partners called Limiters, who use a special power called Frieren to limit their opponent's mobility. The protagonist makes the acquaintance of an unusual older girl named Bridget L. Satellaizer, who appears to be the most powerful Pandora in her class, but has not yet chosen a male partner to be her limiter, and in spite of the warnings of all his friends, he decides to become her limiter. Frieren. This was a very good anime. I really did enjoy it until I finished and really started reading the manga, and then I realized that the anime, and this is unfortunately a spoiler, the anime cuts off just when the manga is getting really good. So there are key elements in the manga that are not in the anime, and it really kind of hurts the anime, especially if you're reading the manga. But I'm not going to be doing a comparison from the manga to the anime. This is going to be strictly based on what I've seen from the anime. And Frieren, when you're first introduced to Frieren, you're introduced to this just amazing, badass female protagonist, Satellaizer, who is, like I just basically explained in the synopsis, is the best Pandora in the whole school, or at least in her class right now. And she is so, her character is kind of like that anti-hero who's reserved, doesn't really talk much, she's antisocial, she doesn't really want to socialize with anybody, and she has this thing that she doesn't want anybody touching her, and she is known as the untouchable queen for that reason. No one has beaten this girl, no one can touch her, no one has seen to touch her, and I'm not going to spoil why she got that nickname, but what I did like about the series is that as the episodes progress more, you find out why she has that nickname and why Satellaizer is the way she is. So, I mean, they did a really good job at least adapting Satellaizer's character and her whole psyche of who she is, of her insecurities. Now, there also is another male protagonist, Kazuha, who basically I'm trying not to do it in a spoiler way, but he basically is the only one who touched Satellaizer, and the whole school is wondering what she's gonna do with him, and how is he able to survive, and why does Satellaizer have this weakness towards Kazuha. And you'll find out later on the relationship between these two characters, and that's what really is going to drive the story along, and it moves the story along very well. The relationship between this limiter and this Pandora girl, who's the best in the class, but she doesn't want this limiter with her because she feels that she doesn't want to be close to anybody. Satellaizer has that insecurity of being close, because when she gets close to people, she gets hurt, and you'll see down the lines, I believe during episode 7, they kick in more of the backstory between episode 7 towards the end. You get more of a backstory of Satellaizer and her family, and where she came from, and who she is, and I thought that's what the anime really does very, very well. So the characters are all really joined up. I mean, they have very fun characters here, strong women characters for the ladies out there. There are really strong women characters out there, mainly because the whole school is mainly dominated by girls, because girls are the Pandoras and the limiters are the freezers. Now, for those who kind of a little bit confused about what a limiter is, I'll explain it a little bit more in detail. Now, when a Pandora is in battle, they usually have a limiter with them. Now, limiters, think of it as an RPG game. Now, think of not dispel, stop. Think of that stop technique that you see in your Final Fantasies and all your other RPGs. And the limiters use that. They use that stop technique to stop the movements of whoever their opponent is. That way their Pandora can be able to finish the battle off. So limiters are actually very important. Now, one thing I did not really like about the anime, which I thought I had a big gripe with it, is that they really didn't fully explain who the antagonists are, which are the Novas. Novas are hardly mentioned. I mean, at all. I mean, the series focuses mainly on the relationship of Satellizer, Kazuha, and basically the class in the school around them, but they didn't really focus too heavily on the Novas, which made the final climactic battles kind of like, okay, so who are they? What's their purpose here? They didn't really fully explain it enough for me like the manga did. And I know I said I wasn't going to do a comparison, but when it comes to Novas, I have to, like the manga did. They didn't really go in depth of who the Novas is, what's their motivation, and that's kind of a big plot hole, knowing that the Pandoras and Limiters, the main purpose of them are to fight these Novas, and the Novas ain't really explored much. Instead, you get just constant bickering and fighting between the students, between the girls, especially Satellizer, who's always in competition in competition with the other girls for that number one spot to be top rank in their class. And it's always a division between classes. Obviously, seniors are the most powerful, and then you go down to your juniors, your third years, your second years, and so forth. So that was probably my biggest gripe with the series. But overall, the story is really good intact. I mean, I recommend once you finish that episode, or once you finish the anime, that you go into reading the manga, so you can actually see the more in-depth characterization of the Novas, and a big surprise on who's really the baddie and everything else. And what they did do, they did a lot of twisting stories around, and story arcs around, which is pretty good. But overall, it's a very good anime. I did like the characterization. I like to focus more on Satellizer and Kazuha, and I like the more focus on the school. But at the same time, I would like to see more emphasis on the Novas and who the Novas are, and what's the whole purpose of the Pandora and the Limiters. What's the main purpose? I mean, they touched on it, but they didn't fully go in depth with it. So let's talk a little bit more about the voice acting cast. English voice cast did a really good job. Caitlin Glass as Satellizer, I really did enjoy her performance, because she you know how people she gave me that vibe that she really was Satellizer, and that she was this anti-social girl, just reserved and very defiant and very dark with it. Josh Grell, who plays Kazuha, I really did enjoy his performance as well, because when he was in battle, he was really intimidating. He was defiant. He stood for something. He really gave you that hero voice, like, no one's gonna mess around with me. No one's gonna mess around with any of us. And I really did enjoy that. Monica Rao, once again, she just plays bad. I always say this every time she's in one of the animes I review. She plays bad so well. I love her voice when she's bad, because I don't know, it's just probably the pitch that she gives that gives that little hint of sadisticness that just makes you shiver with chills. But overall, I will say that the voice acting was really great. I enjoyed it. Nothing really over the top or, oh my god, that voice I can't stand. It's watchable. It was great. Really great. So we're going to head into music and animation. Music and animation. The first thing I can tell you about the animation, battle-wise, amazing. I really did love the battle sequences in this. I mean, straight from the pages of a manga, and choreographed very well. Brutal battles, very brutal battles, especially one of the final battles. And I would say one of the best battles is within the gym, which I'm not going to spoil. I just say Satellizer is a beast. She is very strong and very well skilled. The music, I kind of don't scream like go get the OST. It's fair. I mean, it sets the tone, and nice tempo songs, nice strings, nice. I like the opening theme. Didn't really like the ending theme much. So the music, it's okay. It's not something me to go recommend the OST to you guys. It's just kind of bland and generic, but it did fit the universe, and it did fit the battle sequences that was going on. So overall, I will give the final grade. I'm going to be giving Freezing a B-. For those who like numbers, 8.2. I mean 8.0. And what my final thoughts on, it's a decent anime. It's really good. I mean, I just wish that they explored a little bit more of the antagonist Novas. You rarely even get to see the Novas. It's basically, you would think that the anime is setting up for a season 2, but this was like a complete series. So if there isn't going to be a season 2, or they decide to do a season 2, then yeah, it would have got a higher grade. But the way they just left it off was, okay, this was the end of the story, and that's it. But there's actually much more to Frieren, and unfortunately, it doesn't get explored as well as I thought it should be. So it's kind of a little disappointed from first reading the manga and then watching the anime. So I would like to see more of the novas and more of the effects of them, but I do like the characterization and how Satellizer was portrayed, and how they really focus more on the Pandora's and Limiter's relationships, how important their relationship is for them in order to survive the battles, and in order for them to get along. So I did like that depiction that the anime gives. It's a decent anime. It's something that I do recommend, so you guys need to go check out Frieren. For more anime reviews, visit otakusandgeeks.com. This is Justin saying later days. We'll catch you on the next one.